Hello and welcome to Large Format Friday. I'm your host, Matt Marrash, and if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to check out our growing playlist of Large Format Friday episodes on the tab above. If you haven't subscribed yet, each and every Friday there's going to be a new upload revolving around the world that is large format photography. Last week we were talking about shutters in lenses and how to mount those guys so they stay secure on your large format camera. This week we're getting to the cameras themselves. There is no shortage of choices of large format cameras that are out there, and each photographer is going to have different needs, price ranges, and shooting styles that the cameras will accommodate. All in all, there's about 3 core types of large format camera, and I have those here today that we're going to be going in depth with and talking about the pros, cons, and approximate price points of them. To start, we have this camera on the right here, which is a monorail type camera. This is a studio beast of a camera. These cameras are designed to have all the controls, all the bells and whistles, and they reside on this singular rail that is clamped to usually a heavy-duty tripod. Now, one of the greatest things about large format cameras is that we can start to manipulate the film plane and the lens plane. You can see here on the camera, I'm moving my lens, I'm angling it up and down, pitch, yaw, X, Y, and Z. I can do all sorts of crazy things with the lens that's going to change my focus and where things are falling on my depth of field. If you've ever heard of tilt shift before, this is the original tilt shift photography, is controlling where our lens and our film plane are. I just threw a lot of stuff at you guys, and don't worry, there's going to be a whole nother video where we talk about these camera movements that I just briefly outlined. All in all, monorail cameras are big, they're hefty, and they typically have all of the movements anybody could want for in-depth studio, macro, or just fine what's called technical photography. These are technical beasts. The other thing is, they're beasts. They're really heavy cameras. What do you do with a camera that's this big? Well, you probably aren't leaving the studio with it. Monorail cameras are known for their size and their heft, but they can also be had for pennies compared to some other types of large format cameras. These cameras, while they used to cost thousands of dollars, can cost only several hundred US dollars anymore. One of my favorite things about monorail cameras is a lot of them will have these what are known as geared movements. Look at that, as soon as I move the gear, it's done. I don't have to set anything else. I don't have to remember to lock, unlock, and a lot of them are system cameras, so I can get a lot of unique accessories for it. This Scene RP that I've got here has a bellows that clips on and off. So I can change out my bellows, I can add extra in-between standards, I can daisy chain bellows together. This Scene system camera can interface with 4x5, 5x7, 8x10, and anything ultra large format that's anything bigger than 8x10, as long as I have the right Scene clamps and stuff for it. These guys made everything. And what's cool about it is if you can imagine it, these cameras can execute it, which is pretty cool. So that is the monorail type cameras. Let's kind of recap what these monorails are here for. Monorail cameras give me lots of camera movements where I can move my lens and my film plane to control things like depth of field, perspective, and shape, but they usually come at the cost of being really big, heavy cameras. So if you plan on doing a lot more stuff in the studio or having some time to yourself, these are great cameras that can save you a bunch of money and still get you into large format for less than the cost of a Canon Rebel. If you want to be out and about with your camera a lot though, these cameras will weigh on you quickly. I had a Scene monorail camera like this, but in 8x10 size, for only about 6 months before I felt like I was going to throw my back out. I ended up purchasing a field camera after that very quickly. All right, so if you're just running and gunning with the camera and you have some nostalgia for different types of cameras that are out there, I recommend a press type camera. What's cool about press cameras is they're small, compact, and they're meant to go with you and be ready at a moment's notice. This is a Graflex speed graphic camera, and what's excellent about this camera is it's so compact, the lens and the camera all fold up into one neat little box, and this thing is ready to go. This camera was made in the 40s, and it's gonna last quite a lot longer than I will. So the bed folds down like that. I can pull my camera and lens combination out. It's got this neat little focusing thing right here. Call that the sports finder, so we can look right through it. It also has a CalArt rangefinder. So I have sports finder, rangefinder, and if I just want to do it the old-fashioned way, like many view cameras, I can also use my ground glass focusing screen. So there's so many different ways to use these unique cameras. What's the downside? Well, because it has to fit into a really compact area, this camera often does not have many of the same movements that you would see in a monorail camera. In fact, sometimes they're just completely rigid. This one has a little bit of front rise and fall, so the front standard can move a little bit, and it can do a little bit of this tilting motion, but that back standard, it is fixed on there, so it's not going to be able to do anything really specific that we want it to do. As far as price range, because these cameras are pretty old and pretty limited a lot of times, you can get started with a Graflex press type camera anywhere from the $150 to $200 range and up. There are other companies that make press type cameras, Linhof, Toyo, Horseman. Those are all a little bit higher end and a little bit more modern and can cost quite a bit more money. Press cameras are great if you're just wanting to get a taste of large format and maybe not get too deep into it and not spend a whole lot of money. A lot of my friends got started with these type cameras. Some of them moved on beyond that really, really quickly, and others are still rocking theirs today. Again, there's no right or wrong answer to which type of large format camera you choose. It's all about, what makes you feel good. My favorite type of large format camera is this third type here, and that is a folding field camera. Kind of looks like a briefcase right now, and that's because my camera's front and rear standards are kind of smushed into the bed right here. So I open up this little flap, this little brass flap at the front, unlock these guys, and there's my camera right there. Well, it's looking down right now, but there it is. Pull my front standard up, push it out, and there we go. I have my 8x10 Takahara field camera out for everybody to see. So field cameras have a little of column A, a little bit of what the monorail cameras have, with a little of column B, what the press cameras have. They're compact-ish. They have quite a few more movements than the press type cameras. This particular camera has rise and fall, has some front tilts, even has a little bit of this thing called swing where I can do that. And the rear standard has a little bit of tilt and swing as well. The only downside is there's a lot of different field cameras out there, and there's a huge range of price points for these type cameras. When it comes to field cameras, you can get started with a folding field camera for as little as $400 US in one of the Intrepid 4x5 field cameras, or get into a little bit heavier duty used field camera in the $600 to $700 range. If you'd like, you can go all the way up to the thousands of dollars and even tens of thousands of dollars for specialty wooden 4x5s. One of the coolest ones out there is an ebony. Those are really aged wood Japanese cameras that are out there, kind of like the Rolls-Royce version of this really beat up Takahara that you see here. And when it comes to press cameras, we have really kind of a tighter price range, several hundred to maybe $1,000 and a little bit above, unless you wanted to buy a brand new Toyo folding press type or field type camera. If you have the chance to, link up with a large format photographer in your area or put out feelers on local Facebook or online groups about large format. Many of us are just really happy to see other people get into the hobby, and I know personally I've let lots of folks borrow my different large format cameras to see if they like it. It's a big expenditure getting into the film, the cameras, the tripods, all the extra stuff that you're going to need to shoot this that you don't want to drop down for a camera you might not even like yet. So if you have a chance to, try it out and see what you think about large format. There's many different cameras, there's no right or wrong answer, but have fun with it. When you're checking out different large format cameras, make sure you put into consideration price point, size and portability, movements, and the most important one, the cool factor. Could you see yourself working with this type of camera? All right, well that about does it for the different types of large format cameras. We have our big studio cameras with big movements and not a big price point. We've got our nice compact press cameras that have very few movements but have a nice price point and a really compact size, and our field cameras, which are a little of column A and a little of column B. Which large format camera is right for you? Do you already own a large format camera? I'd love to see what everybody out there is shooting. Let me know down below in the comments. Maybe I'll even get a poll started to see which type of camera you guys at home use. Stay tuned for further episodes of Large Format Friday, where we're going to get into all these extra aspects of just what's going on in the large format camera and what else you need to get a shoot going. We'll catch you next time.